Hi everybody.
Hi everybody.
So the rewilding your relationship concept, I did that blog this week and I've had some lovely feedback on it.
Well, that's great.
And I wanted to acknowledge that it's our idea that we've been kind of playing with and working on and seeing where it goes.
Well, thank you, because we did. This is a co-created idea.
It is.
It has been evolving for some months now.
Several months now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
And what I love about it is that it's sort of really trusting that we can trust that innate intelligence inside of us and that we don't need to be spending time trying to improve ourselves, trying to work on ourselves, that there's a deeper intelligence that through listening to that, it's easier to live in accordance with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about getting back to our natural state.
Yes.
And what's so cool about this idea in particular is that at first I thought, well, yeah, that's got some potential. And then the more that we've talked about it and the more that we just carry on with our work, you know, vis-a-vis coaching, I can see how it just becomes more and more applicable. And one of the things that I've really noticed that crops up a lot in couples work or working with individuals, working with anyone for that matter, even corporate work, there's always come back down to this word called control. Like people have this great fear of things being out of control. And there's no better example of that than in a relationship, I think. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when we feel like we can't control our partner or they're doing something that feels out of control, then we tend to freak out and then we build up all these narratives around that.
Well, when we get scared, we tend to look to see how we can control things.
Yes.
Like you used to try and tame my emotions.
Yes. Yes. And it wasn't, I mean, yeah, you can absolutely look at it in those terms, because for my money, when you were having your little outbursts or your bouts of depression or those periods of time.
What are you gonna say?
I feel like I'm about to stand on very thin ice here, but when I even said the word period and periods of time, I was thinking about that time of the month when that usually seemed to surface, that you would get really kind of out of balance in my estimation, but it usually led to bouts of depression and sometimes just uncontrollable tears. You really get into it. And then I would, in my wisdom, feel like, well, you know, why dwell on that? What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about that? What are you thinking about that makes you feel that way? And so you'd be lying on the bed sobbing for what felt like hours on end. And
it's probably only 10 minutes.
Probably only 10 minutes. It felt like hours on end to me. But I, in my wisdom, thought, well, I can interfere with this. There needs to be an intervention.
What do you mean wisdom?
It wasn't wisdom. Well, there was a sense of wisdom to it, but there was also, you know, obviously, you know, there was a concern and a feeling that I could maybe help you. But jumping into that situation and just trying to sort of encourage you to think something differently when you're already kind of wrapped up in something that's really causing you to suffer was definitely folly at the time. But I remember that that when we were, you know, when we first boyfriend and girlfriend, as it were, and you were going through that, and I had just read some sort of positive thinking book, and I remember trying to sort of like have these conversations with you right in the middle of all this unfolding. And trying to get you to focus on something positive as opposed to something negative. And it just like, not only did it fall on deaf ears, it just made a bad situation 10 times worse. Mm-hmm. So I was obsessed with, on some level, yeah, I can really help you here. I can really, you know, and on a purely selfish level, I just wanted to sort of control the situation, tame you, and think that, you know, that through my understanding, that was obviously quite limited at that point, I could actually help you and help myself in the process. Yeah. And really all I need to do is just to sort of let you come back to your natural state, come back into equilibrium.
Yeah, you would get freaked out and forget or not realize that I was going to come back into balance at some point, and you just kind of let me go through it. I would be fine, but instead you try to, you know, manage me, and the managing would usually make things between us a lot worse.
Yeah, no, I do everything in my power to try and manage the situation and manage you.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, you know, then that started to become really frustrating. And then I went off into my own sort of like turmoil, whatever that looked like.
Yeah, and things would just go downhill from there.
Yeah.
And then eventually the ship would right itself and we'd rebalance. But after a whole lot of suffering, additional suffering.
But it took years, really, to sort of like, well, it took to the point where we really started to grasp this understanding that really all we have to do is just wait for our partner to come back into their natural state of well-being.
Well, it's not so scary when you see that there is this intelligence that allows us to stabilize, and that the emotions are something that we just experience and move through us and are temporary and transitory, and the less afraid we are of them, the milder the experience is and the quicker we bounce back. And as soon as we saw that for each other, it became fine to be in the wildness of whatever was showing up, knowing that, you know, we were going to reach a state of calm at some point again.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
And I know that I tried to tame you in my own way, so we can talk about that next week.
That's right.
Didn't work either.
Right. I feel like I want to be like the ringmaster and have a top hat and a whip.
Have a great weekend,
Have a
everybody.
great weekend.
Sorry, were you going to say something else?
No, I'm good.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.